Hi, I'm Tony, your Poppop's Workshop. Just a quick video today to talk about some of the things we just got in that we're trying out. Wife picked this up for me, little silicone brush. A lot of you guys probably reach over and grab this. Probably have these, which they're great for a lot of the small edge stuff. But sometimes I get into a little larger glue up. So little silicone brush like this is super handy for me. We've been using it quite a bit around the shop, and the plus is glue comes right on out, so that's handy. Another thing, just got this from Lowe's. It's in the Cobalt line. It's just a little slider utility knife. It's got a quick release feature. There's a button here on the side. You push that, you can change out your blade, flip it around, whatever you need to do. And look at that, guys. I did that without cutting myself. Sometimes that's questionable on the day, but so it's very handy. I like it for its size. It's very compact. I can stick it away in my shop apron and have it for those times where maybe you just need to trim out a little bit for something you don't want to run and grab a chisel. It's handy for small trim out things like that. You got to open a box. A lot of times we're getting boxes in the shop. It's just handy, and the price was right. It was like $8 for a pack of 2. This also has a interesting 2 little nut wrenches on the end of it, a 5/16 and a 1/4, and then a little slotted screwdriver thing on the end. So it's got a couple neat little features, but mostly the compact size is great. And the last thing I just recently got, this was free because of a purchase amount that we did at the local Woodcraft. So that was great. Shout out to Woodcraft and this tool line, which is the thing here, K-Pro. K-A-P-R-O. Sorry if I'm slaughtering that name, but it's got levels both directions on the top. These are for aligning screw holes. What I thought was interesting with the new little knife is that there's little indentations here along these sliders, so you can put this down and run that along, and handy for trimming something where you've got a straight edge on there while you're trimming it. So we're going to put that around, hang it on over with the marking tools on the wall, and see how much use we can get out of that. But that's some of the things that we're doing in the shop today, is playing with new tools and trying to get some other things done. Still sanding some cutting boards, but we'll get that done for sure today. And hopefully you're having a great day out in the shop, avoiding the cold weather. If you're having that where you're at, we certainly are. But if not, if you're warm, congratulations. Otherwise, thanks for showing up. I never take it for granted that you're here watching these videos. Truly appreciate that. And until next time, remember, you can do this. Hi, I'm Tony. You're in Poppop's Workshop. So a little while back, I did a video showing some of the different gadgets that we recently got into the shop. And I thought what I would start is a regular segment. Don't know how frequently we'll have them out, but start with a tool, a gadget, maybe a grouping of gadgets or tools that we use in the shop, why we use them, and then to see if you guys have any similar products that you found useful. You could leave a comment in the video, and then I might have something else to add to my collection, or it might help out other viewers as well. So today we're going to start with some marking tools, and we'll take a minute here and bring you in, and we'll just discuss some of the marking tools that we use in the shop and why we use them. All right, marking tools. A variety of marking tools. One that some guys use is a marking knife. And the reason being is maybe you make a measurement over so far. Now you put that marking knife in there. And even though you can't see it like you can a pencil, I can stick that right back in there. Run that right to where my square is at. And now I have a nice line that I've been able to cut the fibers with. So if I want to saw that or do anything else with that, those fibers have been cut, and I can just drag that and catch that line every time. Boom, it's right there. So marking knife is very handy if you want a definitive line that's easy to find when you bring it over to line up a square. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to use. So use a marking knife, very handy. This is a Pica marker. Many of you have seen them. This kind of sticks in your pouch. Handy little sharpener on the end. In case you get that dull lead, need to sharpen it up a little bit. But they use some nice thick leads, which are easier. You might notice this one is equipped with a white lead. What I specifically use this for in our shop is with white, yellow, red refills you can get with these on walnut or some darker woods like maybe a wenge. You can get a nice, I don't know if it'll show up very well here. We'll try it. So you can get a very clear white line in a darker wood. That makes it easier for me to see than, say, a pencil line. So they're handy. You can put black lead in there, but we always run with white, or red, or yellow. And you can get those in packs. In fact, we grabbed that at the local Woodcraft, so that was handy there. Sharpie markers. We use a couple different kinds of Sharpies in here. This is a construction grade Sharpie that kind of writes on just about anything. Greasy, non-greasy. So sometimes if you're using a little bit of metal in the shop, maybe it's a little greasy or something, you want to put a marker on there to cut with, I highly advise you grab a pack of these. They're great for that. And regular Sharpies are very handy. A little thicker line, but again, it's there until you sand down a little ways to get it out. So Sharpie markers are come in handy for a variety of marking tasks in our shop when we want it to be permanent. We also use these Sharpie gel pens at times. So this one's not working very well, maybe because I didn't take the cap off it. It's kind of new. So they're not bad. They really stand out. So some guys like using pens. Occasionally we'll use them. But most of the time, we're going to be using pencils. And it can come in a variety of ranges. Now, the construction carpenter's pencil is probably one we use the least. But we keep them around just in case. They are handy. I put them down. They don't roll away. If I need to describe something, say we're doing a cabinet or something, need to describe it in there. This is a specific width, as is this. So if I want to scribe that much, or I want to scribe that much, I can just lay the pen in there, and there we go. We can do the center, we can do the center, or we can just run something else along that. So it's handy as a scribe, or anything else you might think of to use that with. Sometimes it makes a nice little setback or a little shim of types. And then we got this at a home show. It's a little thicker pencil. I kind of like it. It's kind of handy if I just need a secondary pencil, an extra pencil to grab. It's always in my pouch. I can grab it and use it. But most of the time, we're using this Graph Gear 1000. It's a 0.9 millimeter lead, so a little thicker, but very handy. They have them in several different colors. This is the yellow. So if you're looking, the yellow is a 0.9, I believe. Let me double check, make sure I'm not telling you the wrong thing. Looks like 0.9 to me. So they've got a 0.5 and a 0.7. I got the 9 because it's a little thicker lead. It's easier for me to see, which is one of the problems I oftentimes have. But if I need a fine line, again, I'm going to go back to the marking knife, which leaves a very fine point on that marking knife. And the bevel edges allow me to stay away from those as well. So this is probably my go-to marking utensil in the shop. It's very easy, and it closes down that way, so it kind of protects the lead, which is a very handy feature on this. So marking utensils come in a variety of things, and I'm sure you probably have several others that are your favorites. These are just the ones we use in the shop for a few different tasks, a few different things. So what do you use? All right, so marking tools. If you use any of these and I missed something about a useful tip or trick to using one of these, please go down in the comments. Let me know what it was. If there's something different that you use, a special pen or pencil that you found very useful in your shop, again, in the comments, just let us know. And hopefully you found Gadget Corner useful. I'm going to probably do a series of these over time. I'll put them in their own little playlist to make it easier for you to go through. And again, thank you for watching. Appreciate that you do watch, and try never to take that for granted. And we thank you for spending your time here with us in the workshop. So remember, You can do this. Hi, it's Tony, and you're at Poppop's Workshop. Today in Gadget Corner, we are talking routers. Now, we can talk about trim routers, normal corded plunge routers, fixed base routers, CNC corded trim routers, or spindle motors, or even the big monsters, those shapers that turn monster-sized bits and can put tenons on a piece of timber frame. But whatever router you're running, what makes it useful to you? What's the thing you want to look for in routers? Well, when you think about versatility, I've had this old Ryobi for longer than I care to think about. I used this when we were doing construction back in the 90s and early 2000s. And it's done really well. Limiting factor on this is not the motor size. It is the fact that it only has a 1/4-inch spindle or collet in it. So I can only use 1/4-inch shank bits on this. Ideally, I'd have a bigger plunge router and I'd be able to use a 1/2-inch bits. That would really make my life a little bit easier. But we learn to make do. When it comes to things like trim routers, when we were looking to use more routers in the shop and thinking about how can we utilize this more, we realized we needed one of these. Now, not necessarily particularly this brand, but because many of you know I have some physical limitations that make things a little financially tight at times, so we have to think about using our money the best. And so I got this for probably, I think it was $70 on a sale. So just the tool only, which meant then I had to figure out batteries. I was going to have to buy more batteries. Did a little searching, and since I already had plenty of Porter cable batteries around, I found on Amazon an adapter. You may want to look for this too. It takes my Porter cable batteries and makes them compatible with my Ryobi trim router. So if you're into a battery platform already, that doesn't necessarily mean you're stuck using that particular trim router. Maybe you want to upgrade to a different kind of, maybe you've heard good things about the Makita, the DeWalt, the Milwaukee, whatever it is. You can take your existing battery platform, look on Amazon, find yourself an adapter, and you're in business. So that's one way to take limited funds and up your router game. But no matter what platform you're in, what size router you have, the business end of that router, the tool, the cutting bit, is the most important thing. I learned early on, if you cheap out on bits, you're going to keep spending more and more money. They don't last very long. They burn up, they gum up, and you can clean them, but that gets pretty tedious. If you invest in a better bit, yeah, you might still have to clean them, but it's going to be sharper a lot longer. You're really going to get your money's worth. We found the Freud bits to be excellent for using here in the shop. So whatever router you're running, whether it's your CNC, your shaper, your trim router, or your older plunge router or a newer plunge router, don't cheap out on the bits. So those are some of the things that we found useful about the routers we have in our shop. Some of the things you might want to look out for when you're thinking about getting a router. And hopefully you found this information useful. Thank you for watching. Again, we never take for granted that you are doing that, and we truly appreciate it. So no matter what you're routing in the shop today, just remember, you can do this. Hi, it's Tony. You're in Poppop's Workshop. Today in Gadget Corner, we're talking sanders. All the different varieties that we use here in our shop. I'm going to ask you about some of the ones you use. But before that, I want to talk about the proper PPE when you're dealing with things that create fine dust. We've got a fan that we have filters on for removing the fine particles from the air while we're working. You want to have proper dust collection hookups. A couple of these don't necessarily, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. But they're also loud. We want to have good ear protection. Grab your isotunes or whatever you're using to protect your ears. And we recently picked up this RZ mask, and we're loving it. So grab yourself and make sure you have good lung protection, because those fine particles will do damage. So you want to make sure that first and foremost, before you're worrying about what you're sanding or how you're sanding, protect yourself from the sanding dust. So with that being said, let's skip to the end of our sanding journey here in the shop, which usually ends with hand sanding. So we've got one of these little sanding mouse holders here, it'll take our regular 5-inch pads and we can wrap them around there and use them that way. It's really good for that final sanding that I want to do, because I want to do that by hand just to make sure that I'm going with the grain and everything's going to be as smooth as I can possibly get it. And for those curves or holes, we're cutting out holes, we want to make sure the edges are sanded up. Maybe we've rounded over something. I'll just take a Sharpie and that same 5-inch disc, and I'll just wrap it around the Sharpie and use that for irregular surfaces. So that's handy. I know some places like Woodcraft will sell small detail sanders, kind of narrow, you can hold them like a pencil, and they've got little belts that you can rotate a little bit at a time. You might check those out. They come in different grits, so those are handy for a little detail sanding as well. And so when we think about detail sanding, many of us have oscillating tool, and most of the time they come with a separate head that will hold these little triangular pads for detail sanding. We've got one, used it a little bit. It does shake the daylights out of you. So I would suggest like some anti-vibration gloves if you're going to use this, or another option that a lot of guys are turning to now. I saw it on Matt Outlaw 731 Woodworks channel. He got a Milwaukee detail sander. He really loves that thing. You'll have to take a look at his video. He highly recommends that. So maybe that's where you want to upgrade from what you've got in a kit that you may have bought to something more task specific that's designed with low vibration, low noise, things like that. Also, one of the things that we talked about earlier, this dust collection on this is not good. And of course, it isn't on that Milwaukee either. Matt talks about that. So you want to do whatever you can to make sure, again, your fan's going, maybe bringing over a hose and clamping it down so you can collect all that fine dust at the source. Something else in our shop that we use that does not have the best dust collection is our Craftsman belt sander. We got this newer model when our older model that had served us for a solid 20 years just died on us, so we went out and grabbed one of these because we needed to grab one right away, and it was available at our local Ace Hardware, so we ran and picked it up. And it does great. It does a really nice job, but it only has like a little bag that slips on here. It's kind of a funny connection for the dust collection, and that bag fills up in no time, so dust collection is a nuisance on it at best, but not good. So you'll want to think about that if you're going to be running a belt sander dust collection. How does it hook up? How can I make that better? One other thing we're using quite a bit of is our Metabo random orbit sander. In this same Porter cable line, we had a battery operated random orbit sander. It wasn't the best. It really seemed to kill the batteries fast. I was constantly changing out batteries. None of the other tools in the line did that, so I'm not sure if I had a bad one or if that's just part of the problem with that line. I know other guys have got cordless Metabos, Makitas, DeWalt's, whatever, and they love them. They see they do a great job. But when I needed another one, I just ran to our local Menards, a box store, picked up this Metabo, and have not looked back. It's got a nice adapter on the back. It does come with a bag, but we took the bag off, put their adapter on, and it hooks right up to our shop vac hose. So we get great dust collection off of that random orbit sander. So that's a big plus for that one. And finally, one of the tools that has really, really made our life easier in the shop is this Triton belt and spindle sander. It's fabulous, guys. If you are thinking about getting one of these, pick it up. I did a video a while back as to why I chose the Triton over the Bauer at Harbor Freight or the Rigid at Home Depot or even the Wen. All good options if you're looking for that. All look very similar, function very similar, but Triton had a good reputation, so we went with Triton, and we have not regretted that a bit. Went and picked it up at our local Woodcraft and have been happy ever since. It's been great in making templates, rough cut them on the bandsaw, come over and just detail it right to the line with the belt sander, and it is just a fabulous tool. So again, it's got a hose connection similar to what I have on my Metabo, but it also has this adapter. So if you're running a larger collection system, you can just slip the adapter in, hook up your other hose, and it, as you can see, is in there. So that's the other thing you want to think about. Is it adaptable? Can it handle my dust collection system? This can. So that's a very big plus for that one. So those are the sanders that we're running in the shop. I'm sure they'll expand over time. But we'd like to ask you what you're using in your shop for sanders. Have you used the new Milwaukee detail sander? What do you think? Do you have a different version of the belt and spindle sander? What do you think of that? How's your random orbit? How's your belt sander? What are you using? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? Whatever it might be, put it in the comments. Let us know. Thanks for watching the video. We never take for granted that you have watched the video, and we really appreciate that. It means a lot to us. Thanks again, and remember, you can do this. Hi, it's Tony, and here in Poppop's Workshop. And it's time for another segment in Gadget Corner, and this one's probably going to be the most exciting. Okay, well, it's not. We're going to talk about PPE. But while it might not be exciting, it is, in my estimation, the most important part in any shop, that you protect your vision, your hearing, your lungs, all the things that you need to live. So we're going to talk about a few of the things that we have in the shop for hearing protection, eye protection, things like that. And we're going to bring up a few that aren't readily thought of as PPE, but they definitely are. So we're going to start off with some of the simple things. I wear glasses. I just have the one eye, so I need to protect what I have. Also, for jobs where I might be getting a lot of chips thrown in my face, I'll throw on the mask, the face shield there. Makes things a lot safer. As far as protecting your lungs, we've got several ways. One obvious one is we've got the RZ mask, flashy color so you can see me, right? But this thing has worked out really well. It's very comfortable, very easy. And because it's comfortable and easy, I use it. Sometimes things are more complicated, and let's face it, if it's a complicated thing to use, you're less likely to use it. So make sure that you're doing what you can to protect your lungs. Is it better than a full face shield with big respirator, bulbs on the side? Maybe not, but it does an excellent job. I have noticed marked improvement while I'm doing sanding, things like that, to choking, crud in the throat, all that kind of thing. Get one of these guys. I highly recommend it. Another PPE that I wear a lot is my Cat's Moses apron. This thing is great. Besides having a place to wipe glue if it gets on my fingers and not on my clothing, because we use Titebond 3, and you wipe that on your clothes, they're glue closed permanently. So we love this apron. It protects if you get that random piece of kickback off the table saw. This is going to be better than a t-shirt for sure. So get yourself a shop apron for that extra layer of protection when you're working on the saws and things like that. Another thing that we wear constantly is the isotunes. And the benefit to that, and some others do it as well, is that I can play woodworking podcast. I'm an old guy, so sometimes I don't listen to music that much, but woodworking podcasts are great for me in the shop, kind of keeps me motivated and going, hearing what other guys are doing. Sometimes they're funny. Wouldn't it be nice? New one for some guys here in Iowa, Dylan and Third Stall Projects. Can't remember his name. Sorry about that, buddy. But Iowa guys, and they are killing it with their podcast. Wood Talk with Mark and the guys, great. We Built the Thing. Those guys are hilarious. So, and they've got great content. So, besides having ear protection, it kind of gives you something to keep you motivated in the shop. Now, I said there were other things that we might not think of as PPE. One of those is the type of wedding ring I wear. It's a Quelo, and it is a silicone ring. Lots of companies made them. They're stretchy. If I were to get this caught in something, it could be a number of things. You go to reach for something and you snag something else on the wall. Instead of having a big metal band that's going to tear and possibly cause some serious damage to your skin, this will break before anything like that happens. So think about that. If you're a married guy, you like to wear rings in the shop, or a married gal, these are great. And they come in some great colors and options too. Now I'm going to grab the camera and show you some of the other things that we have in our shop that are PPE that you might not readily acknowledge as PPE. Hang on a second. All right, pardon the jiggle here, guys. You're going to bounce around a little bit. Here is my simple attempt at air filtration. We may upgrade in the future, but a box fan moves about 420 cubic feet per minute of air. So a nice filter on the front there, and you can upgrade that filter to serious 10, 12 MERV if you want to, the big box filters, and put that on there. So whatever you want to do, but that really does some nice air movement, keeps a lot of that fine dust out of the air caught in the filter. And to go along with that, we have another small box fan over here that allows me to move either the heat from the heaters around the shop, or if we're in that window up there, sometimes we'll put an air conditioner. So that helps keep the shop cool, while at the same time moving the fine dust around to get it to that. So that's something definitely you need to think about when it comes to PPE for protecting your lungs with fine dust in the air. And we've talked about this before, but we have put more light in the shop. Before we just had two of these big filters, or two of these big fixtures rather, the light fixtures, and they were okay. But again, for me having the one eye, it created a bit of a problem with seeing things accurately. And we all know if you can't see the cut, one, it's not going to be very accurate. But two, you risk doing things or getting in a little too close. Maybe you're not paying attention while you're straining to see the line where your hand's at. And that can be a bad problem. So in my estimation, adequate or more than adequate lighting in a shop is a serious PPE upgrade that you may want to look into. So those are some of the things that we use in our shop for PPE. They're the gadgets we enjoy. They're the gadgets that keep us protected, and they're the gadgets you may want to take a look at. So thank you for watching this episode of Gadget Corner. We appreciate you watching our videos. It means a lot to us when you do, and we want to thank you for being here. Remember, though, you can do this. Hi, it's Tony, and you're in Poppop's Workshop. We are talking on Gadget Corner today about drills and drill presses, specifically the accessories that expand the versatility of these tools. So let's get into the video and check those out. Okay, so drill bits and drill accessories for your drill press or your drills, your drivers. There's a myriad of them out there. And so I kind of gathered the ones that we use in our shop to expand the usefulness of these tools. So we've got anything from a quick and dirty Craig pocket hole jig. We've had this for a while. We've built some railings and different things with this little tool. Very handy. So any of the pocket jigs are going to be great to use for that. Bigger ones would be better, but that's for down the road. Another fastening system we've been using is this drill doweling jig. So picked this up on Amazon, but you can basically clamp it and center up the holes for drilling dowels. Specifically, I got this for cheese boards, for being able to drill that specific hole centered in the end of the board to get the hardware in. So this has been super handy for that. So might have a different purpose, but that's what we use it for. Here's a set of Ryobi drill driver bits that we've had. In fact, this is my second set. A friend borrowed one and missing a few, but gave me an excuse to get a new set, so can't complain there. This set of DeWalt drill bits. They're not the Brad Point bits. Probably should have some of those in the wood shop, but these have worked great. I've had these for a while now. And the miracle is there's none really missing. There's a 16th bit. I know where he's at. He's not broken or anything, but none of them are broken or missing, so they've held up really well. We got this specifically for a job. It's a spider hole saw, so we can use that. And the nice thing about it is if something gets stuck in there, you can just pop that right off and be able to change out your hole saw ends. So one arbor, get a few more of those. Where would you be with a drill press or even your handheld drills without a good set of Forstner bits? We got these from, I think, Harbor Freight. They've worked okay, but this is a Freud, and this thing is absolutely amazing. I love this, so we'll be replacing all of our Forstner bits with Freud Forstner bits in the near future, hopefully, because Man, these things cut like butter. I love them. Something that you may not use very often, little drill stops. So if you have a specific length to take the drill bit to, it comes with a little hex key, and you can just fasten those onto different size drill bits rather, and you have a depth stop built in. Sometimes that's handy. On our drill press, the depth stop is missing a nut, and I haven't replaced that to lock it in place. So these on a drill bit mean that I kind of get a rudimentary drill stop, so I can drill just a specific depth. So they're kind of handy that way. Another thing on the drill press that comes in great is a countersink. These are great. They're wonderful for countersinking. Sometimes you may have a built-in countersink, but sometimes these are handy if you just need to countersink something, maybe a metal even. They work great there. But this is one of my prized drill bits, the Amana drill and countersink built in, because when this gets to the depth you've preset, this just spins, so it doesn't mar it just holds. So this spins, doesn't mar the wood, and as you can see, there's an adjustment there for removing the drill bit if you break it, and an adjustment here for either increasing the amount of countersink or decreasing the amount. So very versatile tool there. And if you put on hinges, a self-centering VIX bit, I've always heard them called, but hinge bits too, so they're very handy to have. And we love our crescent driver bit. This actually has a cam mechanism in there, so when you get to a point where there's stress on the screw, this will actually act as a clutch, a built-in clutch, which is very handy on an impact driver, because there is no clutch on this thing. It is all go, no quit all the time. So with a built-in cam in here, that keeps me from breaking screws in those tough situations. And we have a bunch of odds and ends bits, so where would we be without one of these magnetic trays from Harbor Freight that I can keep all those at, take it to my workstation, sort through what I need. When I'm done, I take it over to our sticker cabinet, throw it on, and I'm good. One of the things I don't have that I would like to get in the near future is one of the Montana Brands kits that is a flip drill driver, so you can drill and countersink, flip it over and drive. That would be handy, so you don't have to necessarily have all that, but if I want to have a drill bit in here that's a different size, drill and drive with this, that would be another thing that I'd add to the list. So as you can see, there is a ton of things we have, several things we don't have that we can add to it. But if you have something that you saw I don't have, tell me about it. I really want to know, because gadgets, Gadget Corner is really important. So hopefully you enjoyed this little trip down what we have in the shop and what we need in the shop, and you're having a great day in your shop. Remember though, you can do this. Hi, it's Tony, your Poppop's Workshop, for another episode of Gadget Corner. Today we're talking layout tools. We've got some squares, some straight edges, and some levels. So we'll take a few minutes to discuss how we utilize each of these variety of layout tools in our shop. All right, so the first category of our layout tools we're going to talk about is levels. Levels serve a variety of purposes. If you're doing like an epoxy pour and you want to know that your surface that you're pouring on is level, the table's not too bad. Only like that. I don't have to shim an epoxy pour here very little. So it kind of also doubles as a straight edge. Not quite as good as most straight edges, but it'll do. So big levels for epoxy pours, things like that. It's always handy to have a smaller level for similar things. This one I keep because it has sentimental value. This belonged to my father-in-law. This past summer my brother-in-law visited and he brought this. He had this and he's passed that along to me. So this one, whether I use it or not, this one stays in the shop. And then we have another kind of a hybrid from Capro Tools. This one's straight edge, but it's also a hanging level or a standard level. It's got some indicators here. This has a variety of uses. One of the things they advertise for it to be used for is like picture hanging, things like that. So you can set these at just the right dimensions on the back of a picture where you've got your little clips, and then put it on the wall, level it. You got a level picture hung without too much effort. So that's how we utilize levels in our shop. All right, so the next category for us on layout tools would be our straight edges. We've got a nice 4-foot straight edge here, nice aluminum one from Empire. very sturdy, and it really is a great straight edge. You can clamp that down, get yourself a nice level line. We also have from Empire this 3-foot, very flexible. You might think, how good is that? MWA Woodworks just did a video, I think it was yesterday, which would have been Sunday I want to say the 29th. And he showed that he could stand this up on a piece of wood, clamp this end, and then by just putting a little pressure there and squeezing the clamps, he could get that to stay and mark any dimensional curve that he wanted to do. So it's very handy that way. If you had, say, put a nail in here and a nail in here, and you want to pull this up and hold it, you could get any variety of curves, pretty steep curves too, with a flexible straight edge. So highly recommend you have a nice solid firm straight edge like this 4-footer and a flexible one like this 3-footer in the shop, and you can do a lot of layout with those two specific tools. All right, so our final category today is going to be squares. Now, one exception to that is this framing square, which could also double as a straight edge. So you've got your 16-inch leg here, your 24-inch leg there, so you've got a couple different layout edges there. But this is very handy for laying out larger panels. If you want to get a nice square corner, you just slap that in there, you've got a good square corner. It's got a lot of other features to it as well. So those of you that are familiar with framing squares know just how versatile they can be in the shop or in the field. We have the handy dandy Swanson Speed Square. This is a composite square. They also make them in metal, aluminum, and you can get these in countless varieties. They've got some that have a little flip out leg to extend your marking capacity, but this is a great way on small things to get a square edge in the shop or out building a building, which is what they're mainly for anyway. But here in the shop, this is one of the favorite things. This goes in my pouch and I keep this. This is a little 6-inch double square, so it'll just adjust that out there. It's a little cold in the shop today. There we go. So you can get a T-section in there. This is good for setting bit heights or blade heights on your table saw or router table. It's also great if I want to set the fence to a certain edge away from something. So square it up in a corner, use it for setting tools, setting bits, blade height. The double square is indispensable. Every woodworker should have one in their shop apron. Don't leave home without it, kind of thing, right? So those are squares. That's our last category in this layout tools. All right, so those are the layout tools that we have in our shop. You may have more, you may have less. In my estimation, these are the 3 categories you really need to have an effective shop. Are you going to use all of these all the time? Probably not. But when you need it and you don't have it, that's very frustrating. So some of them sentimental, some of them useful in rough construction, maybe not as useful in the shop, and then some of them indispensable in the woodworking kit. So that's our category for today's Gadget Corner, layout tools. Hopefully you found this informative. We appreciate that you've taken the time to watch this video. We truly are grateful for all the time you spend with us, and we hope you're having a great day in the shop. And remember, you can do this.
Hi, it's Tony. You're in Poppop's workshop. We're in a mess. It is utter chaos. I've got a couple of boards, some hard maple, some walnut I got from the Woodcraft that is going to turn into a project for a buddy. We're finishing up our JPW project. I got the first coat of General Finishes hard wax oil on there. Man, that looks great, making everything pop. But that's not what we're talking about today. In amidst all the unfinished projects, the projects in flux, and the projects to be, we're going to do a Gadget Corner on something we haven't talked about much. So let's get over there and check it out. Robot Corner is Gadget Corner this week. So we've got some robots. We've got our WizMaker laser. It's a 20-watt diode laser. We've been tinkering with that, having some cool results, playing with it, and we've got some really good ideas for it. One of the things that you may have seen and other guys make is little medallions. Some of them are brass or bronze. Some of them are just wood. So I'm going to get some thin plywood and cut a few medallions with Poppopsworkshop logo on there. Figure out my depth setting for my Forstner bit. That's going to be the tricky part. I know how big I want to cut them. I got a Forstner bit that big. Should be a good match. But I've got to work out the depth so that when I put that in, because it's lasered, I don't want to have to sand it or I sand off the logo. So that's a little project that we're going to be working on with the laser, in amidst making some customized coasters, some customized cutting boards, all kinds of things that you can do with the laser that we're really looking forward to expanding what we're doing with. So far, this is great. You can get one, grab one. I'll put a link in the video description on the WizMaker. I think you'd like it. And got our 2 laptops. Why 2? Because I may want to run both the laser and our Next Wave SD101 CNC. So I've got separate laptops to run each of those. So as you can see, we need some organization. That's coming. We're going to be doing a video on putting a long table, basically a top with some supports that will take care of all of our stuff, even down in the other part of this wall, which is Nana's workshop where she does her stained glass. So we got some cool ideas for that. And in the end here, we'll have our CNC going. I've done some tinkering with this. Let's talk about Robot Corner from a learning aspect. There is a learning curve to any of this stuff. Even though I got a small machine, some simple software, that's taken a little bit to get figured out. A couple issues with the software. We're finishing up a resolution on that. I'd like to upgrade the software at some point to make it a little more versatile. The stuff is, the beginner stuff it's okay. It's just not as versatile as I'd like it to be. So we may have to upgrade in the near future to do a few of the other things. But as you can see, we built a few of these little cutting boards, and I've got one left over. So my next project will be to slap that in there. Perfect size for this CNC. And we'll put something cool on there, maybe fill it with epoxy. Who knows? I've gotten into this craze of filling things with epoxy. The CNC is great for that. So that's our Gadget Corner, our robots, our laser, our CNC. What do you got in your Gadget Corner? Maybe you've got a 3D printer. If you do, tell me about it, because it's in the back of my mind. I got to get these things working first. Man, I'll have a fit if I do throw another robot in here before that's ready. So hopefully you found this entertaining. Probably not very educational, because we're just telling you what we've found. What are you running in your Robot Corner? What kind of laser do you have? What about your CNC? Do you separate the two out? Do you find that it's a problem having them in this close a proximity? What about running them together? There's lots of things that we haven't done that we could run into problems with that we are going to need your help in. So let us know, educate us, as we need the education, definitely. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully you're doing something cool in your shop and it's not as chaotic as what we've got going on here. And remember, you can do this.